Hello, BookTube. Welcome back to the History Shelf. I am your host, Peg. So nice to have you with us today. Today is all about secondhand books that I have picked up along the way. It's a really large stack. I've been holding on to them for quite a while to show you guys. They've just kind of accrued a little bit. And I decided, you know what, let's go ahead and get these shelved and organized. But I need to show you. I want to show you guys different books that I've picked up. No rhyme or reason. You know, if I'm reading something and I want to do some further research and I find a book, whether at Second and Charles or online, I just put in an order for a bargain book. But let's go ahead and we'll start with something pretty special. So this first book is actually sent to me by a fellow booktuber and good friend, Bill Rutenberg. And Bill, look in the mail, you'll have something too relatively soon. But he had an extra copy of this book, asked if I had it. And it's a book on one of my favorite people in history. I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count. It's all about Captain Sam Grant. Now, this one doesn't have a dust jacket, but I actually prefer it without the dust jacket. It's a nice older volume from Little Brown, and it's Captain Sam Grant by Lloyd Lewis. Now, I know that Bill showed this recently on his channel, that someone else had sent him a copy, and I think he had already had this one. So he was so kind to drop this in the mail to me. So thank you, Bill. I didn't realize how big it was. I didn't realize it was a big kind of a 500-page biography here. So I am very excited to read Lloyd Lewis's take on Ulysses Grant. I have at least a shelf and a half or more of books dedicated to Grant down in the downstairs library in the living room, but this one's going to go up with them. I'm just really excited to check this one out. So I don't really have any type of dust jacket copy to read you, but it looks like it's going to be really good. This particular book, I don't think the original either had any type of inserts or photographs or anything. It's just straight up copy, but looks fantastic. Sorry, I'm showing you a blank. There we go. Captain Sam Grant. So this is a wonderful new addition to my Ulysses Grant collection of books. Can't get enough of the guy. You know how that is. All right, so let's move on here. Again, I have picked up these books over the course of the last 3 or 4 months. So don't think that I just went out and did all this yesterday. I didn't. I've had this for a little bit now. Where did I find this? I think... someone else on another channel, another booktube channel. You guys always get me in trouble. I have FOMO when I'm watching other booktubers talk about books they found, and I'm like, I want to get this book. This is the 2nd edition. I think it's out in a 3rd or a 4th now. Oh, I don't know, but either way, it looks kind of interesting. It's The Beginnings of Western Science, the European Scientific Tradition and Philosophical, Religious, and Institutional Context, Prehistory to AD 1450 by David C. Lindbergh. Again, 2nd edition. It's put out by Chicago University Press. I guess it was first published in 1992. Let's see, when it was first published then, it was lauded as the first successful attempt ever to present a unified account of both ancient and medieval science in a single volume. This book was and remains a landmark in the history of science, shaping the way students and scholars understand these critically formative periods of scientific development. It reemerges here in a 2nd edition that includes revisions on nearly every page, as well as several sections that have been completely rewritten. For example, the section on Islamic science has been thoroughly retooled to reveal the magnitude and sophistication of medieval Muslim scientific achievement. And the book now reflects a sharper awareness of the importance of Mesopotamian science for the development of Greek astronomy. Okay, so fantastic. I kind of want to go back and check to make sure. So the 2nd edition came out 2007. So I'm guessing that there have been some more updates. But I thought I could at least tap into, get a grasp on just how the development of science. I want to learn more about the history of science. So I just thought this might be a good place to start. And if I want to check out some of the other later editions, if he has other editions, I'll do that as well. So picked up this little copy here. Oh, and then I think this one, I can't remember how I stumbled across this, but I wanted to get it. It's a small little copy from Yale University Press, and it's called Islamic Imperialism, A History by Ephraim Karsh. Small little volume here. A widely respected expert in Middle Eastern affairs challenges the way we understand Middle Eastern history and politics in this provocative book. September 11th and other Islamic acts of aggression have little to do with U.S. behavior or policy, Ephraim Karsh argues. Rather, such attacks express Islam's ancient, powerful, and continuing imperial tradition. This paperback edition contains fresh material which brings the book fully up to date. All right, well, Ephraim Karsh... Have I read his Saddam Hussein biography? That is a good question. He's written Empires of the Sand, The Struggle for Mastery in the Middle East, 1789 to 1923, and Saddam Hussein, a political biography. But he is a professor and former head of the Middle East and Mediterranean Studies program, King's College, University of London. So this book came out in 2000. Okay, so the hardcover came out in 2007. It says this revised edition was published in 2013. So almost 10 years old, but I'm always intrigued by reading Islamic studies, history, so I wanted to add this to my library. Oh, now this book, the other two books are downstairs, but this is part of a trilogy of A History of Western Civilization. And this was the second book in the series, and I have the third in my Amazon cart for the paperback version. But this is William H. McNeill. I've shown you before on this channel. His Rise of Western Civilization, I think. Yeah, so let me see if I can find that for you real quick. Okie dokie, no, I can't. Anyway, this is The Pursuit of Power by William H. McNeill. Second book in the series. I think the third is The Plagues and People. Found this, I think someone had cleaned out their library that owned both of these books, because about 3 months ago, I found the original, the Rise of Western Civilization there, and then sure enough, this one came along, and it was on the clearance rack. As you can see, it's ripped. I might try to... It's just a piece is missing. So, and yeah, it was originally $8, and then on the clearance rack, it was down to $4. But it's The Pursuit of Power, Technology, Armed Force, and Society since 81,000. I think I might just take the dust jacket off, because it's the artwork's nothing to look at. I mean, it's just nice. Look at it. Very, very, very beautiful. Just like this. I certainly don't need this ripped up dust jacket of a guy shooting an old arquebus or whatever this is. But yeah, so it's a really cool... Oh, this is where they grabbed that from, I think. So, $4 for this, guys. And what do we have to say about this one? So this one it says, examining the pursuit of power in former times and analyzing changes in older balances between technology, armed force, and society will not solve contemporary dilemmas. It may nonetheless provide perspective, and as is the wont of historical awareness, make simple solutions and radical despair both seem less compelling. Moreover, since we must still make decisions every day, it probably helps to know a little more about how we got into our present awesome dilemma. Oh, I like this dust jacket copy. It's kind of fun. The pursuit of power attests to a modest faith in the utility of such knowledge, which may conceivably provide a ground for wiser action. Oh, this is from the author's preface. In The Pursuit of Power, historian William McNeill connects technical, military, political, and economic history more tellingly than has been done before. The result is a work rich in original observations and hypotheses. Let's see here. McNeill envisions a commercial transformation of world society in the 11th century and discusses Chinese and European military adaptation to this transformation. He also offers new ideas on the psychic consequence of drill, which made European armies after 1600 sociologically different entities from those that came before, and on the French and Industrial Revolutionary disturbances, which he attributes largely to population phenomena. Further, McNeill views World Wars I and II as marking a return to command economies and societies, ending a 1,000-year experiment in market organization of large-scale human effort. Doesn't that sound fascinating? A special note is McNeill's argument that Great Britain was the forcing house for the emergence of the modern military-industrial complex, and his thesis that our present capacity for destruction has escaped overall rational control through an excess of detailed rationality in the planning and control of armed force and industrial production alike. So, yes, William McNeill, that first book in this trilogy is called The Rise of the West, A History of the Human Community, which received the National Book Award. And so the following book that I'm going to order to complete this trilogy is called Plagues and Peoples, Venice. That's another. Oh, he's written another book on Venice, The Hinge of Europe, 1081 to 1797. So William H. McNeill, you guys, kind of starting to get into his work. And that's what I picked up for $4. And so happy to see the second book in the trilogy available. I think the same day that I picked that one up, I found this one at Second and Charles, $6. Well, then again, I had like $100 in credit, so I didn't pay a dang thing for any of these. This looked really good, though. This is The 17th Century Europe in Ferment by A. Lloyd Moot. A. Lloyd Moot. It's kind of beat up a little bit. It's got some tape. Someone has already tried to reinforce the edges, so thank you to that person for doing that. This was by Heath Publishers. I don't know. I don't even know if that. I've never heard of that company. This book came out in. Come on. 1970. This is a 1970 copy, but it just looked really good. I like older books that just like seeing what people read back in the 70s. How cool is this? So, all right, it says, our own age of upheaval raises new questions about past changes. The present volume, therefore, offers a major new examination of 17th century Europe and its weakening tradition, balancing fact with fresh interpretation, 1970s. The author explores all aspects of this age, political, scientific, religious, philosophical, economic, social, and artistic. This book is concerned with all of Europe. This dust jacket copy needs a little spicing up. I'm a copywriter by trade, so I feel like I can help out here. The book is concerned with all of Europe, major powers as well as lesser states, whose characteristics shed light on the problems and traits of the big nations. Arranged chronologically within topics, this treatment stresses similarities and differences between states, describes their unique characteristics, and shows basic changes from one epoch to another within the century. Okay, I can't go on reading this jacket copy. It's horrible. What turned me on to it was I was flipping through it, and I was looking at some of the chapter headings and illustrations, kind of to show that this is something I'd like to check out. So, pick that up for free with all of my Uber credit at Second and Charles. So that's always cool. Let's see. What else do we have here? Okay, so I picked this book up. This was also on the clearance rack for like $2. And just because of the condition, and it was someone had very carefully put the Mylar cover on it. And it's kind of like, foreign kind of policy, and it's dated, which makes it interesting to me in a kind of like a historic way, Anyway, never heard of this author before, but I picked up Mexico, Chaos on Our Doorstep by Saul Sanders. Again, wonderfully just Mylar'd up, brand new kind of book, but this edition is from 1986. I read some of the quotes in the beginning. It seemed interesting. The preface says from Vietnam to Mexico. It's just interesting. It says here, the situation in Mexico is volatile. Now remember, this was printed in 1986. Drug scandals, corruption in government, political instability, a population explosion, hopeless unemployment, abject poverty, and a staggering national debt. And with an over 2,000-mile undefended border, trouble in Mexico means trouble in the United States. Yet our government's energies are focused on more far-flung hotspots, viewing Mexico as stable in the short term, though perhaps dangerous in the long term. History has proven, however, that long-term problems can easily become short-term through totally unpredictable events. Witness Mexico's, so it says here, recent catastrophic earthquake and its impact on Mexico's debt crisis. Saul Sanders presents a panorama of Mexico's problems as they relate to U.S. interests, and that's what kind of intrigues me. I want to read about that. Exploring the roots within the commonly held, quote-unquote, myths of 20th century Mexican history, in particular the Mexican Revolution of 1910 to 1922. Many of his views are sure to provoke controversy as he challenges conventional wisdom that persists in looking back to a largely rural, smaller Mexico which no longer exists. That's true. Without such a clear-eyed, unwavering focus on today's realities, Sanders feels no solution to Mexico's current situation is possible. So yes, while dated, I think it's just interesting to see where we've been and where we've come since this book was written. So I picked that up for nothing. All right, so I have so many of these books that I had to stack them on the floor next to me for the purposes of this video. So hang on one second. Let me grab the next set here. And as you can see, we have a snow coming in tomorrow here in the Denver area, in the Front Range area of Colorado. And the thing I've been discovering as the temperatures change here, and I'm going to move into a little bit of a personal moment, take a little break from the book showing, just to give you a little update. So it's been getting really cold here lately, and we've got the heat going, and I bought a little space heater in my office here because my office sits right above the two-car garage. And even when we were looking at the models before we bought this house, the realtor lady was just like, well, the sales lady for the company, actually, she lives in this complex. She's like, yeah, the room that sits above the garage is usually a lot colder than any of the other rooms. So as you can see, I have made a purchase of a beautiful Sherpa blanket, as I call my Sherpa blanket. So I've got that folded up and ready to go for my reading chair. I have a little floor unit, only turn it on when I'm here, to toast up my toes. But it's going to be snowing tomorrow, probably 1 to 3 inches, they say. We'll see how much we get. But anyway, looks cozy, eh? Okay, back to the books. Here we go. I can't remember why I picked this up, but I don't even remember why. But it's a fascinating topic to me, military history fan that I am. This is Red Mutiny, 11 Fateful Days on the Battleship Potemkin by Neil Bascom. I think I ordered this online used. So what do we have here? In 1905, after being served rancid meat, more than 700 Russian sailors mutinied against their officers aboard what was then one of the most powerful battleships in the world. Theirs was a life barely worth living, a life of hard labor and bitter oppression, an existence in its hopelessness and injustice, not unlike that of most of the working class in Russia at the time. Certainly their rebellion came as no surprise. Still, against any reasonable odds of success, the sailors turned revolutionaries, led by the charismatic firebrand Matyushenko, risked their lives to take control of the ship and fly the red flag of revolution. What followed was a violent port-to-port chase that spanned 11 harrowing days and came to symbolize the Russian Revolution itself. The story alternates between the opulent court of Nicholas II and the razor's edge tension aboard the Potemkin. Let's see. It is also a fine work of scholarship that draws for the first time on Soviet archives to shed new light on this seminal event in Russian and naval history. Aha! For readers of Tom Clancy's Hunt for Red October and Nathaniel Philbrick's In the Heart of the Sea, Neil Bascom's gripping adventure at sea is a story of courage, the power of ideas, and the fragile nature of alliance. So, I mean, this kind of fits in actually with a lot of my Russian Revolution studies. The late period of the last Tsar. I'm fascinated by all of it. So, and I think this one is pretty well known. So I wanted to finally say that I have it, and I'll get around to reading this one soon. Okay, so I wanted you guys' input on this one, whether to keep the dust jacket or not. The other one, I think I know what I'm going to do, but this one is really ratty-tatty. This is an old book, and I've never heard of it, but it looks good. I just love these old hardcovers. This is a 1968 book, and it's seen better days. This is Man's Rise to Civilization, as shown by the Indians of North America from primeval times to the coming of the industrial state by Peter Farb. Again, a 1968 book, as you can see, ripped, very badly damaged. Well, the dust jacket is. And there's our author. Now, look at the front papers here. That's beautiful. Whoop. So, what did I have in here? Was this a bookmark they gave me? Oh, yeah. I love finding these things, and I love finding these little... Someone had an old Book of the Month Club newsletter. Look at this. They have an ad insert for Iberia by James A. Michener. It's 1968 marketing. This is so cool. That's the year my sister was born. Anyway, so this is what the book looks like without that ripped up cover, but it has a beautiful kind of, it's still a little faded. It's got some dust particles, but look at that, huh? It's from Dutton. So, I got it for free because, again, credit. Do you think I should ditch this thing looks like rats have eaten it. I mean, and look at that. I mean, this one is like, this part was just, this is completely ripped. I mean, I could tape it up, but I just don't know, guys. I mean, it might be necessary if you wanted to keep the dust jacket the cover, but let me just, show you the nice stuff on the inside. We've got beautiful illustrations. I love it. There is a lot of underlining. Someone underlined a lot of stuff in here. But overall, this is just a beautiful book. I just love that. I love this kind of stuff. So, what is this about? Let me get back to the microphone here. Again, 1968, consider. Says Peter Farb's important new book, which is not new anymore. It has a long title, but a short and vital purpose, to probe the deepest roots of human behavior. Beginning with the most pitiful and primitive Indians found by explorers, the Digger Indians of Nevada. In Utah, Mr. Farb shows that even they are much above the highest non-human primate. He denies that man is, quote, nothing but, end quote, an animal, demonstrating that the complexity of culture makes the lowliest man quote, much more than any animal can ever become. Mr. Farb uses the contrasting customs of North American Indian tribes to explain the evolution of man as a social being, his relationships with his family and kin groups, his religions, and his political institutions. The author finds the true romance of American Indians and what they can tell us about ourselves. He presents archaeological evidence of man's arrival in North America and his spread throughout the continent, resulting in the development of many cultures and more than 500 different tongues. He then probes the consequent diversity of cultures which greeted European explorers some 20,000 years later. Among Farb's major topics are the survival of the band among the Eskimo, unity through religion among the Pueblo Indians, primitive democracy as evolved by the Iroquois, and the question of innateness of capitalism or communism in the Canadian bands. Fascinating. Among his themes are the economics of prestige, the origins of laws, the reasons behind differing marriage customs, and the rise of messiahs. His discussion of the varying responses of the North American Indians to the invading whites sheds light on today's questions about colonialism in Africa and Asia. Viewed either as a study of man's social behavior in general or as a survey of North American Indian societies in particular, Man's Rise is a pioneering work, a book about the first Americans and, more important, a study of man now and throughout human history. So, again, stumbled across this. Someone had just gotten rid of this. It has definitely been around the block 100 times, but let me know if you've read this or if you know anything about this book. Also has that pink, that kind of pink tinting, or not tinting, but on the end papers. Okay, so there's that. Let me know if you think I should ditch the cover. Okay, so this is an author. She writes historical fiction. I don't know if she's still alive or not. I'm thinking not, but I wanted to get her series on the Irish century, and her name is Morgan Llewellyn, and I'm sure many of you of a certain age demographic probably will have heard of her and can tell me more about the series. I've been trying to collect all of them. A lot of these are out of print. I think the other one I did pick up was, and I don't think I've shown it yet. Oh, which one was it? I think I have 1921. I think that's in my other stack of books to show you. Or did I already? Yeah, guys, I don't know. Anyway, she's written, I think, 4 books in this series. There's 1916, 1921, 1949, and then this one. I wanted to pick this up. I'm trying to get this damn sticker off the front, but I had to order it used. But I got it in hardcover, and this is 1972. And it's a novel of Ireland's unfinished revolution. Again, Morgan Llewellyn is the author. As you can see, she's written 19... And I want to read these in order, obviously, chronologically. But they sound really good. And, I love historical fiction as well as, history. Makes sense that I would, read a lot of historical fiction. So let me just read to you a little bit about this. It says, the Irish Century series is the narrative of the epic struggle of the Irish people for independence through the tumultuous 20th century. Morgan Llewellyn's magisterial multi-novel chronicle of that story began with 1916, continued in 1921 and 1949, and now reaches a dramatic peak with 1972. Now, Okay, so I don't want to read too much because I don't want to spoil anything from my reading experience, but I think she follows like the grandchildren of some of the people from 1916 and 1921. And in this one, they're dealing with the troubles in Northern Ireland and the IRA. So again, I am trying to get the entire 4-book series. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So, okay, I just need 3 more. And I think I actually have I have 1921. I can't remember where I put it or if I've shown it to you yet, or if it's in another stack. But anyway, so I picked up 1972. Yay. Okay, guys, we're almost there. Wow, 30 minutes. Now we're back in old peg peg form now. We're giving you some long videos of book hauling. So I picked up this book at Second and Charles. I think actually I picked this book up when I bought this book. I haven't been to Second and Charles in a couple months, so I think I might need to take in some more books and apply more credit and just see what new stuff might have hit the history shelves. I had seen this book before and I kept passing it over. I'm like, don't I have a newer biography on this gentleman? And then I was like, but Peggy, it's so beautiful. Like the cover's just, it's distinctive. They don't print books like this anymore. It does have someone's library stamp in the front pages, which I love, like from the library of so and so Esquire. You know, I love that. And this book was from 1986, and it's just a beautiful book. And I'm like, let's just get it because you're not paying anything for it; it's free. So this is, and let me know what you think. Thomas Becket by Frank Barlow. Now, isn't that a beautiful cover? And I can't believe it was still there the second and third times that I went back and looked at it, and no one had taken it. And I think it's California University Press or University of California Press. And actually, for a used book, they were charging quite a bit, so it must be kind of like a collectible or well-known because they were wanting to charge $11.25. Of course, I got it for free. But a beautiful biography here. Just slightly yellowed, but smells wonderful. I love that old book smell. You can count on me to not be shy and not be embarrassed to smell a book, cover or inserts. It says here on December 29th, 1170, Thomas Archbishop of Canterbury was brutally murdered in his cathedral by 4 knights from the household of his former friend and patron, King Henry II. The horror that the killing inspired and the miraculous cures performed at Thomas's tomb transfigured him into one of the most popular saints in Western Christendom, and Canterbury became one of the greatest pilgrim shrines in the West. Yet these were unexpected results. Thomas's extraordinary career had been and remains controversial. The transformation of a handsome, attractive, and worldly courtier into a zealous prelate, a bitter exile, and finally a martyr was for many hard to understand. In this brilliant new biography from 1986, which is based on the original sources and informed by the most recent scholarship, Professor Barlow follows the London merchant's son through his schooling and successive clerkships to a London banker, to Archbishop Theobald, and as Chancellor to Henry II. To his election to the See of Canterbury, his behavior as Archbishop and his quarrel with the king, his exile at Pontigny and Sens, and unravels the complicated diplomacy that led to the reconciliation between Thomas and Henry, and the Archbishop's return to England at the end of November 1170. That was all one sentence, so you know what? Take up from it what you can. The drama of the martyrdom and its effects on the main protagonists complete the story. Throughout, Professor Barlow takes an admiring but cool look at the sacred monster. I was interpreting that from the French that they have printed here. He reconstructs Thomas's physical environment and entourage at the various stages of his career, exploring the nuances and irregularities in the story that have been ignored in shorter studies. His purpose is to establish the facts, presenting them in their true historical setting, and thus to explain how and why events happened as they did. All right. I see, got stamps all over from the library of Stephen Dale, Esquire. He really wants everyone to know. But he gave up the book. Well, maybe he passed away or something, but I will give this book a great home, and I'm looking forward to wandering through these musty page smells that I love so much. Now, this book I have had on my radar for a very long time, and then I forgot about it because it's been out for a while. And then something else came up that reminded me of this book. And I'm like, let's just go ahead and get it already. This book came out in 2019, and it had come out in a trade paperback, but I really wanted the hardcover. And I was able to locate one that it's just brand new condition, really. And this is The Bookshop of the World. Making and Trading Books in the Dutch Golden Age by Andrew Pettigrew and Arthur der Veduven. Okay. It's by Yale University Press. Yeah, I really wanted the hardcover. And it's in perfect condition. I mean, it's just really clean. There's no markings. This is it says the untold story of how the Dutch conquered the European book market and became the world's greatest bibliophiles. When in 1656 Rembrandt was forced to declare bankruptcy, a full inventory was made of all his remaining possessions. Among the paintings, furniture, and household goods at the house on the Breestraat were only 22 books. It was a fitting mark of his near destitution, for by this point the Dutch Republic was a land teeming with books. While the Dutch found space for 3 million pictures on their walls, they produced perhaps as many as 300 million books. They traded at least 4 million books at auction and produced some of the most fabulous books of the age. In this fascinating account, Andrew Pettigrew and Arthur der Veduven explore this largely overlooked marvel in the Dutch world of the 17th century. They show how the Dutch invented some of the most advanced techniques of the era for selling and marketing print, and bought and owned more volumes per capita than any other part of Europe. Key innovations in marketing, book auctions, and newspaper advertising brought stability to a market where elsewhere publishers faced bankruptcy and created a population uniquely well-informed and politically engaged. Pettigrew and der Veduven tell for the first time the remarkable story of how the Dutch came to dominate the European book world and show the extent to which this pious, prosperous, quarrelsome, and generous people were shaped by what they read. So, just fantastic. A book about books. Oh, and they even have color in here. I thought maybe it was, so I'm really glad, yeah. Well, I'm sure the trade paperback also has color, but how interesting, eh? They have a mixture of black and white in here, but also just color and art. So I was really happy to get a copy of this book. Okay. 3 more books, guys. We're almost there. Okay, thank you. I just had to take a little pause to wet the whistle. The next book I picked up, again, I wanted to get this book when it first came out. I wasn't able to get it right away, and then it was out of, the first printing ran out because trying to get a hardcover was near impossible. I think this is still a difficult hardcover to get right now. It's been a crazy bestseller. For obvious reasons, it kind of came out around the time that President Biden did the pullout in Afghanistan, and then we had all these images of people falling off the airplanes and rushing, trying to get into the last transport out of Saigon. Afghanistan. But so this book came out right around that time, and it was just going, gangbusters on the bestseller list. This is The American War in Afghanistan, a History by Carter Malkasian. I was able to find a used copy that is in really good condition. So I ordered it third party off of Amazon, I believe. So I'm really happy to have this now. So what are we looking at here? Here's a little refresher in case you don't remember this book. This came out in 2021. The American War in Afghanistan, which began in 2001, is now the longest armed conflict in the nation's history. In The American War in Afghanistan, Carter Malkasian provides the first comprehensive history of the entire conflict up to the signing of the U.S. Taliban peace agreement in February 2020. Both a leading scholarly authority and an experienced on-the-ground practitioner fluent in Pashto, Malkasian spent nearly 2 years working in the Afghan countryside prior to becoming the senior advisor to first the top U.S. military commander in Afghanistan and later the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Drawing from a deep well of local knowledge and a rich array of primary sources, Malkasian moves through the war's multiple phases. So the first is the 2001 invasion and after. Then the resurgence of the Taliban in 2006. The Obama-era surge, and the various resets and strategy that occurred from 2011 onward, culminating in the 2018-2020 peace talks. Malkasian lived through most of it and draws from his own experiences to provide a truly unique perspective on the war, which is something I'm really looking forward to reading in this book. Is as someone who is that embedded and just tied into the fate of this country, I'm looking for that type of personal reflection and depth to the history as well. So I'm looking forward to this particular take on it. Today, the Taliban is the most powerful faction and sees victory as probable. The ultimate outcome after America leaves is inherently unpredictable given the multitude of actors there. But one thing is sure, the war did not go as America had hoped. Although the al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden was killed and no major attack on the American homeland occurred after 2001, the United States was unable to end the violence or hand over the war to the Afghan authorities, which could not survive without U.S. military backing. This book explains why the war had such a disappointing outcome. So, yeah. I'm definitely wanting to read this and get this one going real soon, because I've been waiting for it forever. Okay, so as many as you know, Book Outlet recently had a bunch of these Penguin history classics with those bright orange spines, as you can see up here on this shelf behind me. Yeah, I got several. I've got all of Richard J. Evans's his trilogy, The History of the German Reich at War. I was wanting to pick up the titles by Antony Beevor that I don't have yet. But the book I've been wanting to read by him the most is his classic on Stalingrad. So I finally broke down and bought the trade paperback version of that, which is on the shelf behind me, and it's got that bright orange cover. But I tell you what, I've been wanting the hardcover. I just want the hardcover. And I will gladly give away my paperback edition to whoever wants it. Well, I found it. And I'm like, well, why should I get the hardcover, Peggy, when you already have the book at home? Well, because I've always wanted the hardcover and I couldn't seem to find a good copy. One time I ordered a used copy 5 or 6 years ago, and it arrived broken up, like beat up. It was not as described. It was one of those horrible used book selling episodes where you just have a horrible experience. It reeked of cigarette smoke. I'm like, I had to chuck it. I was like, this is useless. I think I got the refund, but I still didn't have the hardcover. Well, lo and behold, at Second and Charles, one day, beautiful Mylar covered copy of Stalingrad, baby, The Fateful Siege, 1942 to 1943 by Antony Beevor. Look at that. Just beautiful. In fact, they were charging upwards of $11 for this, but I got it for free with all that credit. So I just wanted the hardcover. There's no other way to say it. I already had a copy, but I want the hardcover. So now I have an extra copy. I have a trade paperback that I don't really need. So let me know if anyone is interested. So this is a classic. I don't need to read you the description. This is his classic history of the Battle of Stalingrad. Since we're already coming up on 43 minutes, and I have one more book. Okay, yay. Now this one is interesting. How did I find this book? I don't know if I've told you, because I haven't done a separate video on it because I don't feel I'm qualified to really critique or do a book review on it. But recently, my friend Patrice Jones and I, we did a buddy read. And we tackled a classic together that we've both been meaning to read. We read Moby Dick. I'm still trying to figure out Moby Dick. I have read it. I can say that I've read it, but, there's things I need to research on it. So by way of talking to Patrice about that, she said that she had read an essay by this writer, a great writer, and she gave me the name of this book, and I was like, well, let me see if I can locate it, because it's worth it alone just for the article that she wrote on Moby Dick, because I think her insight is really unique. But then I looked at the other contents of this book, and I'm like, I think all of this looks fantastic. So you never think of like Moby Dick and Toni Morrison going together, but they do. And anyway, so I picked up The Source of Self-Regard, Selected Essays, Speeches, and Meditations by Toni Morrison. And there is an essay in here on Moby Dick. So I'm really, and I love reading collections of essays anyway. I've said that multiple times on this channel. So this is going to be great. So Patrice, if you are watching this video to the very end, I hope you did, just so you could hear me talk about this book. Thanks to you that I now have. This was printed in 2019. And yeah, I mean, she kind of writes on, where is it? Right here. Is it part of this one, I think? Unspeakable Things Unspoken, the Afro-American Presence in American Literature. I think that's where she goes into Moby Dick. I think. I'll get back to you on that. But anyway, she writes in a bunch of different things about, you know, American literature, race issues, culture. Yeah, here it is. Oh, no, this is under Black Matters. Okay, yeah. And she talks about Moby Dick and Herman Melville's writing. So I'm really looking forward to this. So just a great resource here of essays that cover a variety of different. The Dust Jacket are just, it's just blurbs. They don't really have any type of breakdown here, but also I was really intrigued by her. She's got a section here on Chinua Achebe, which I've been wanting to read his African trilogy. He wrote Things Fall Apart. So I wanted to get her take on his work as well. She even has a section on Gertrude Stein. So I'm just fascinated. And I picked this up. I found a used copy. I got a nice, beautiful hardcover. It's got this beautiful pink cover with gold, you know, gold lame print. I don't know, it's not lame, but you know what I mean. But it's a beautiful book. I'm looking forward to it. So you guys, that was a variety of different used books that I have picked up. It's probably not comprehensive. I think I've gotten a few more that have floated in here. But I wanted to share with you what I've picked up and love to hear your thoughts on these books. Love to know whether you think I should just throw out this cover and stick with just the Dust Jacket. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of a one-off video, but it's been a long time since I've made a used book haul video, so just consider this one has, I've had to go back several months to cover all of these. But anyway, hope you're having a great day, BookTube. Hope you're enjoying your reading, and as we near Turkey Day, you know, pull out some good reading, because I'm looking forward to my whole week off next week of cooking and eating and reading and sleeping, and it's going to be wonderful. So I hope you guys have a great time. I will have a video up again before then, so stay tuned.